I have made it to the 3rd trimester. The last trimester. 2 down, 1 to go. This is insane and I am so excited. So I haven't done an update in a little bit. I think my last update was at 26 weeks. So now I am 28 weeks and 1 day. So I'm going to be talking about stuff that was happening during week 26 and week 27. So leading up until now. And then I also had a doctor's appointment today. So some stuff happened at that. So go into that a little bit. And just kind of catch up on all that's been going on, which has been a decent amount. So for the most part, I'd say I'm feeling pretty good as I guess I can expect to feel at this stage in pregnancy, as things are kind of getting to a point where I can tell it's gonna get tougher. So I mean, like the first trimester, the beginning of that was definitely rough, and then like towards the end of the first trimester, things were getting better and better. Second trimester for the most part was good, but definitely the whole second trimester is not a walk in the park. The past probably 4 or 5 weeks, I've definitely been feeling, oh my goodness, that is my cat saying, hey, you want to come up or something? You want to come up? You can come join. That'd be cute. Okay. I don't know what she's doing. Okay, anyways, she's gonna go look out the window now. Totally distracted me. Oh, here we go. Okay, so yeah, the second trimester, the whole thing is definitely not a walk in the park. Like 5-ish weeks ago, I definitely started to feel like things were getting a little tougher and feeling like the 3rd trimester was right around the corner, which it was. And here we are, we're already here. So anyways, back on track here. Now that I'm in the 3rd trimester, I'm still feeling decent, but I definitely have my days. So let's start talking about week 26. Acid reflux kind of came back strong. Nothing overwhelming, but I actually bit the bullet and bought some Tums. Not like the normal like chalky like chewy one, like chewable ones. I got different ones that are more like kind of oversized Skittles in a way. But they don't have that chalky taste, which I cannot stand, and the idea of like stomaching that just does not appeal to me. So I took a risk with these like more candy type ones, and they're not bad. And when I did buy them and take them, they've definitely made a difference, so I'll stick with that. But yeah, acid reflux has not been fun. I hate sleeping like sitting up, and I hate it mostly because I'll go to bed feeling fine, even if I'm not eating too close to when I go to bed, but I wake up in the middle of the night and that's when I feel it. And it's especially weird because sometimes it'll be fine if I'm laying on one side, but when I finally manage to roll myself over to the other side, that's when I feel like stuff kind of like coming up. And I'm like, what the heck? It took me so long to freaking roll over. Now I feel like crab laying on this side. Like something's gotta give. So just a weird little thing to deal with, but it hasn't been out of control and unbearable. Other than that, let's talk about my emotions, which have been a roller coaster in themselves. Or a roller coaster in itself. My emotions, I don't even know what I'm saying. I've been emotional, to say the least. I just sometimes feel like I just need to cry and just like let it out, and oftentimes if I just cry, let it out, no matter what is like on my mind, it helps me to feel a little bit better. So I've cried over some stupid stuff. My mind just takes me places, and hormones, I mean, just blame it on the hormones, it's fine. So, you know, just another thing that I guess is to be expected in pregnancy, and something that has kind of been on the rise the past couple weeks. So I guess just life's hitting me pretty hard, you know, whatever. So another random symptom that's kind of been more noticeable to me starting in week 26 and continuing till now is I just feel like I'm breathing heavier. Sometimes I'll notice if I'm just not even like moving really much, or I'm just like sitting there, I kind of start just like and I'm like, I'm not even exercising, like I should not be struggling to breathe right now. But I guess just as things continue to get pushed up and my lungs continue to just like get restricted in there, I'm not taking as big of breaths as I should. And just another thing. It was funny today. I'm totally jumping ahead, but a little sneak peek. I was at the doctor, so I had lab work downstairs and I had to walk like up 2 flights of stairs and like down a hallway to get to the OB's office. And by the time I got there, I was like, whoa, like did I just run a marathon? Like what is wrong with me? Like I was barely moving at like a moderate pace. So just weird stuff that's happening in my life, you know. Pregnancy, can't even keep up. So moving along to another symptom, and I wouldn't even call this really a symptom, just something that was happening in week 26 is I started to sort of notice the line, the linea negra, whatever it's called. I wouldn't even call it like a line really yet. It's so faint. It honestly depends on the lighting. Like we have a full-length mirror upstairs, and if the lighting's right, depending on the time of day, like I can kind of see a faint like shadow just below my belly button. But normal lighting, normal situations, like you wouldn't be able to see it. So I don't know, I was expecting it to kind of be like really prominent. Like I don't know, I never really thought that for some people it just wouldn't be that prominent, and who knows, that could change. But yeah, right now it is what it is. Thankfully still no new like crazy stretch marks on my belly. I just still have the ones like under my boobs. Those really, I don't think have changed. Sometimes they look a little darker, but I think it also depends on the lighting and the time of day, stuff like that. I look at my belly every once in a while, especially in natural light, to try to like see if I see any stretch marks coming in. And I really don't yet. There's definitely some redness on my belly, especially when I get out of the shower. I think just because the water hitting it, and that skin is just more sensitive because it's being stretched. But I don't really see any like obvious stretch marks like I do under my boobs. So good sign, but I am still just waiting for them to come. I know they will be here like before long because they're genetic, and I've already had stretch marks like I've said before. So I'm just kind of waiting for them to appear. We'll see. Now let's move into week 27. So this past week, I have a couple different types of notes for this. I'll keep talking about symptoms, and then I'll talk about baby a little bit. Just a little bit. He only gets a little bit of attention. Just kidding. So let's talk about swelling. Sometimes I feel like my hands and my feet get a little bit swollen. Nothing crazy. Sometimes I'll just be playing around with my rings on my hand and I feel like they're a little tight. But it depends on the time of day. Like if I'm waking up or if I've been like really active, I feel like they're more swollen, but nothing out of control. I just want to be mindful of swelling so that I can make sure to take my rings off if and when it gets worse, because I don't want to have to like cut off my rings or anything crazy like that. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing that's been odd is I just feel like my eyelashes are not what they used to be. And honestly, like I wouldn't have really noticed this until I like heard other people talking about how their eyelashes just kind of like, I don't know, got kind of like not droopy, like lost their curl, started falling out. Like I've just been hearing about that more often as a symptom in pregnancy. And so I started to kind of think to myself like, oh, like I wonder if that's happening to me. And the more I pay attention to it, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not as like long and lush as they used to be. So whatever, I guess I'm at this point where a baby's just like sucking anything that he can out of my body to grow, and that's fine. that's fine. That's why they make mascara and falsies and all that stuff. Another interesting symptom that I'm starting to like pick up on right now again is just extra congestion. And I feel like it gets worse the more I talk. So if I have like a meeting at work or a phone call or something, I feel like just through my sinuses just gets extra congested, and which probably aids into me struggling to breathe and breathing heavier and all that. But even when I blow my nose, like it's not like a lot comes out. It's just like things are probably just swollen in there. I don't really know, but just something to deal with. And it could be partially allergies too. Supposedly it's spring here now, but it's snowing outside as we speak. So I'm sure there's some plants that are trying to bloom and trying to pretend like they're gonna come back to life, but I'm wondering if that's a factor that's contributing to this as well. So just one more symptom to touch on real quick is that I feel like my body temperature is just like, maybe not like my internal body temperature, but like how I'm feeling. I'm just feeling warmer these days. And like I just said, it's still snowing outside, so it's not like it's warm outside yet. But I just feel like my hands are always so much warmer than they usually were. Like typically my hands and my feet are always cold. Like just that's a done deal year round. But my feet have been like sweatier and my hands have been so much warmer. And sometimes they're kind of red. I don't know, I guess just another thing with the extra blood that's pumping through my body maybe. I feel like sometimes when my hands are warmer too, that's when they're a little bit more swollen. So I don't know, just something to deal with again. Now let's get to talking about little baby. So quick story time. Earlier this week on Monday, it kind of freaked me out because honestly to this day I don't really know what was going on in there. Just the way either it was like how he was positioned, or it was probably the most severe like Braxton Hicks contraction I've had yet. But honestly, what my guess is what it was is that he kind of got positioned in like a horizontal direction, like under my ribs, like not like in my rib cage, but like directly under my ribs, because I was feeling a lot of like kicks and like stuff on both sides of my body at the same time. Typically I just feel them on like one side or the other, maybe a little bit on both sides, like if maybe he's like positioned diagonally or something. But this, it almost felt like he was just laying like cross. So that was really weird. But then at the same time I felt like I was having like a Braxton Hicks contraction because it got like tight and it wasn't hard to breathe, but I was just kind of like, it stopped me from what I was doing. Like I had to pay attention and be like, what's going on? Like that's not how I normally feel. Like he's definitely doing something, or my body's definitely doing something. So I got up and I drank some water. I walked around. I went to the bathroom at work. Just kind of like stood there for a minute, kind of like leaned over and stretched over the sink, just trying to like shift around a little bit. And it went away pretty quickly. But then I ended up going downstairs and talking to a lady who she has 2 little boys. So I was like, can you tell me what Braxton Hicks contractions feel like? Because like I've never really talked to anybody about it before. I hadn't talked to my doctor about it yet. And all the pregnancy apps say that that's kind of expected at this stage, to just feel them more. So it was reassuring to have her say that, and it was extra reassuring when like baby got out of that awkward position and kind of like got into his normal position, and it just felt a lot better and it felt normal and fine. So I wasn't concerned at all, but maybe a sign of things to come of like me just feeling totally out of control of my body. So that was interesting for sure. Another thing about baby is I'm definitely picking up on patterns. Like patterns are continuing to make more sense to me just based on his movements. and I'm thinking that I can tell when he's hiccuping, because I definitely feel like distinct kicks and like rolls, and like when he's just kind of like shifting around. I can tell when that's happening, but then you can tell now too, just like the sharper movements that aren't necessarily kicks but probably hiccups, I'm guessing. So kind of cool, kind of cool. So I guess just in line with all that I'm saying about baby moving around in there, is that he's definitely moving around a lot, which is good. It gives me peace of mind. I just love just resting my hand on my stomach and like feeling him move, especially when like I'm laying down, or you know, I'm just sitting at work or something like that. You know, it's definitely the best part about being pregnant, is just feeling him in there, and it just makes you wonder, you know, like what he's doing and what he's thinking and stuff like that. Like the apps say that now he can dream, and who knows what he's dreaming about. I mean, I've been having crazy dreams, so I'm sure they're not at the level of crazy that mine are at, because his world is so small right now. But it's just amazing to think of, you know, the things that are coming, that, you know, all this little boy will be, and it's just really cool. It's just really special. And I really want my husband to be able to like share in some of these moments when he's doing these crazy like ninja moves, and I feel like tons of the time it's like, oh, put your hand right here, like feel this, and the second he puts his hand there, he stops moving. And like, okay, well, is this kid just gonna be that stubborn little boy that's like, I'm not gonna work on your schedule, parents, like I'm gonna do my thing. So another thing, just can't wait to find out what his personality will be like, and what he'll like, and just how he'll be. Like, just so cool, so cool. Now let's talk about my appointment today. So I had the glucose test today, which I feel like is a rite of passage of getting to this milestone in pregnancy. And honestly, I feel like more people say it's not bad than bad, and I'd have to agree. Like, it honestly wasn't that bad. So they gave me the drink to take home with me last time I was in 2 weeks ago for an appointment, and so I had that ready in the fridge. It was chilled. I had the lemon lime flavor, so I drank that right before I was heading to my appointment, and it wasn't bad. It tasted like flat Sprite, and then I was also remembering those like teeny, I think they were called teeny drinks, something like that, but they were like the little plastic jug with the tinfoil lid and the little juice things that I had when I was a kid. You'd like poke the straw through it and drink it. It tasted like that. So it wasn't bad. It kind of like gave me a little bit of acid reflux burn right after I drank it, but that went away pretty quickly. And I kind of had a headache like an hour after, but I think that's because I didn't have any other like good solid food in my stomach, so I just like, I needed something in there to kind of counteract and soak up all the sugar. So drinking it wasn't bad. So I get to the doctor's office, I go to the lab, they draw my blood. That was actually the first time I've had blood drawn that it hurt. Like, I think the guy just had the needle in wrong, I don't know. But then that was quick and easy, and then I go upstairs to the OB office, and like, as I mentioned earlier, I get up like 2 flights of stairs and get down to the end of the hallway, and I'm putting my bag on the chair in the waiting area, and they open the door and they're like, Allison? I'm like, oh, okay. Psych, I don't get a rest yet. So I keep walking, walk down all these other hallways to like the back corner office, sit down, and then they took my weight. I like to take my weights in the morning when I don't have anything in my stomach. I feel like that's the most honest way to do it, because you eat different things every day, you go to the bathroom at different times every day, whatever. So I weighed in on the scale with clothes on at 159.9. So that was a kind of a significant increase from last time, which was 155. So I don't think I've gained 5 pounds in 2 weeks. That's a little excessive. Yes, I have been enjoying Easter candy and stuff like that, but I'm gonna cut myself some slack and say that my clothes were a little heavy today, and that I had extra fluid and food in my body. So anyways, I should probably just keep moving along so I don't rant about that whole situation. Save it for another video. Anyways, then I did the little pee in a cup thing, tested that, whatever, so far so good. That was with the nurse, and then the doctor came in, and I met with a different doctor this time. So kind of how my doctor's office works is I don't have like one go-to doctor. They have different people that you see, because depending on the day that I go into labor, it'll be like a different person who will be delivering the baby. So just trying to see all of the doctors at least once, just so that I can have like a name and a face for, you know, whatever happens that day and whoever's down there seeing all of me. So just, you know, have a little connection beforehand, that would be great. So met with a different guy. I wasn't like, all of the doctors I've met with so far I've felt like super comfortable with, which has been great. This guy, he was very nice, but just the way he handled himself, I just felt a little bit more just apprehensive with how he was talking to me. And it wasn't even bad, it was just like he just gave me so much information all at once, and it was just kind of overwhelming. So I was asking him about, like, you know, baby's position, and, you know, if he had any sort of idea what position the baby was in, and he was telling me, you know, it really doesn't matter until like 36 weeks, because that's when they usually get to a point where they're not going to be able to move anymore. Well, they'll be moving, but they won't be able to rearrange their position like they can now, where they can do cartwheels and flips and all that stuff. So there was that. And then I was asking about like baby size, and he was telling me how, you know, they don't, it varies just depending whatever, which I knew. And then he said that the height, the fundal height that they measure at every appointment, is how they kind of base, my cat's playing with toys now, cool. So measuring that kind of helps them to, can we not? So the fundal heights, for the like the 15th time, the fundal height is how they kind of keep track of if things are on track and whatever. And so at 28 weeks, that should be 28 centimeters. And so just talking about that, talking about like short-term disability paperwork and and how the appointments will go for the next couple weeks and He was just going so fast. Granted, it's a Friday afternoon and probably wants to get out of there for the weekend, whatever, but I just felt rushed. I felt like kind of like intimidated in a way just by all the information he was throwing at me. Like, I wanted to ask a couple questions, but honestly some of my questions I'm like, I'm gonna save them to the next time, because I just feel like I'm getting too much information right now. So that was that. And then I lay back on the table, and he listened to the heartbeat and said everything sounds good. Did the measurement and said that I'm measuring about 26 and a half, 27 weeks, so a teeny bit smaller than to be expected at this week, 28 weeks, so a little bit smaller, but he said that's nothing to worry about. And then as I'm laying back on the table, he starts telling me, oh yeah, so before you came in I was looking at the ultrasound pictures and and I'd like to have you come back in at your next appointment to do another ultrasound. I'm like, what? Like, okay. I've had appointments since this ultrasound and have heard nothing. And he basically said that when they did the anatomy scan at 20 weeks, one of the kidneys looked slightly inflamed. So they just want to do another scan or another ultrasound just to check that out again and see what's going on. He said it's not like uncommon by any means. And he also said like it's nothing to lose sleep over. It's just something to keep an eye on, and even if this next ultrasound came back and it was still kind of inflamed, it's not like they would do anything. They would just give that note to the pediatrician, and then the pediatrician would do an ultrasound once the baby's here to check it out more. So he just wants to do it just to be, I guess, just as a precautionary type thing, which is fine, and I'm not complaining because I just would love to see my little baby again. However, it kind of like hit me like really hard, because I was like, well, why am I just hearing about this now, kind of thing. I didn't say any of this. I was just kind of like sitting there like nodding, kind of like in shock. And it's not like it's even bad, and I'm choosing not to stress. I'm choosing not to Google it, because I feel like that would just be opening up a can of worms in itself. So I'm just gonna wait and see what happens and just pray for the best. And these were his words. He's like, if I had to bet my next paycheck on it, I'd say everything is fine. Okay, cool. So just the way he handled himself was just different than any of the other doctors I've met with. So nothing bad, just I wasn't as comfortable with him as I am with other doctors. But thankfully, the next time I go in 3 weeks, I will be having the ultrasound, and then I will be meeting with a midwife who I met with the first couple appointments that I had. And she's super nice, and I trust how she handles herself, and I feel like she'll definitely be able to share some good information if need be. So play by ear, but you know, I'm very, very thankful that everything with this pregnancy has really been going very smooth for up until now. And I mean, it's, for all I know, things are still going smoothly. We'll see what happens with the glucose test when I get that back. Hopefully that's fine and I don't have to worry about that. But really, I'm so thankful. I didn't have extreme morning sickness. I haven't had a high risk pregnancy. Like, there's just so many reasons to be grateful, and I'm trying to focus on those things, because of course when anyone raises any sort of red flag, you know, all you want is for your baby to be perfect and healthy and all that, and no one's saying that he's not, but any sort of indication that there's something to question, you know, that just, it's just hard. So I'm not going to cry, I'm going to be tough, because there's nothing that I can do. I mean, this is in God's hands. So just trusting that, and you know, at least I get to see him again. Last ultrasound, like, the lady was like, "Great, wave to your baby," like, and when she turned off the ultrasound machine, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna see him until he's actually here in person, like, and that was trippy to think. So you know, it'll be cool to see him again. And the doctor was saying too, he's like, yeah, usually around, like, when we do an ultrasound in the 3rd trimester, we can get some really cool 3D shots as a souvenir. So I'll take that in return for the little bit of added stress that I'm going to be under for the next couple weeks until we know for sure what's going on. So but really, I'm really not that worried about it, and the doctor didn't have any sort of reason to be worried, and just by his demeanor, I'm sure he would have let me know if there was something to worry about. So that is that. Just another quick note, when I was at the doctor's office, he started to talk about just like indicators or like triggers for like calling them, and started talking about like water breaking and any sort of like blood or like discharge, or he was just rambling like the whole time. So I'm sure I missed pieces of it because I was just like, sure. So he was just going through the list of things that would warrant a call to the doctor's office, and yeah, that's kind of surreal too, to think about like what that day is going to be like when I go into labor and how that's going to play out. I'm so curious. Oh, I wish I knew. Day, time, if my water was going to like actually break or what. So curious. But we will know before long, that is for sure. It's about 12 weeks to go. 12 weeks, that's so crazy. There's so much to do. I haven't had my shower yet. That'll be coming up in May, and we just have a lot going on in the next couple months. so that'll help to pass the time. But still, I just feel like there's so much to do and so little time, and as much as I want it to go by quickly, I also don't want it to go by too quickly. What a crazy, crazy time of life this is right now. So I think that's all I have for this week's update. I will show my 28-week belly and then close this out.